Hello. Today I'm just back from short vacation and I got slightly sunburned, so no face today, just the computer displays. I don't want to scare anybody. But let me start the presentation here, and we're going to talk about um, Chromeboxing, as they call it. And Chromeboxing, I don't know, maybe somebody else had this term before, but if they haven't, then I guess I'll take it. So, I guess 2 weeks ago, I went on a business trip to Idaho to a resort company, and they're running several different Windows-based applications. They're running Gmail, they're running a bunch of different things, but most of their computers are Windows, just like most companies have Windows. Some people have Macs, um, and of course now increasingly so. You may have heard about Chromebooks being used in schools, but it's not just for schools. And so this is what I want to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about the education, the business end of it, and see how you can benefit from using this kind of technology for your business of just about any size. So with that, let's go ahead and proceed here. So what is Chrome in general? I mean, everybody knows that Chrome is a browser, so that's one thing. And so just a web browser allows you to surf the net, just like Internet Explorer or Mozilla Firefox, and there's a number of others. Basically, it's a web browser. In addition to that, it's not just that. In addition to that, using the same kind of technology, but packaging it a little bit differently and giving it some other capabilities, Google put together an operating system. And their concept when they did it initially was that you don't need to have a computer running Windows or Mac OS or anything else. You could just run modern applications that are based on some kind of server in the cloud, and you don't really need anything much more than a web browser. So they built this Chrome OS, which is kind of like a Chrome browser on steroids, if you will, and they packaged it into some of their own equipment or their own little laptops that they sold starting a couple of years ago. And it was kind of a slow start. Not too many people looked at it. A lot of people looked at it. It was kind of like a strange little new device, and you can't run Windows on it. And basically, it's mostly was for people who are into new shiny things, not anything productive or efficient. And so businesses didn't touch it initially at all. I mean, because I can't run my Windows software, what good is it? And everybody runs Windows in terms of running any kind of business stuff. But now looking into it and seeing how it matured over the years, it's very clear that it's something that every business owes to themselves to look at if they want to seriously improve their hardware situation, their software situation, their cost effectiveness, their productivity. I mean, all of these things warrant for businesses to take a very serious look into what Chrome OS and devices running it, such as Chromebooks and Chromeboxes, allow. So for those that don't know, there was a lot of talk about Chromebooks, which just looks like a little laptop, because that's essentially what it is. But also there are Chromeboxes, and Chromeboxes are they use exactly the same technology. It's just a little tiny box. I think it's like, I don't know, 6 maybe inches or so by 6 inches. Just a little square box, basically maybe 1.5 inches tall, something like that. Very tiny. And it doesn't have any screen, doesn't have any keyboard or mouse or anything. It just has ports. So essentially, it's the same technology in terms of capabilities. It just doesn't. It just cut off in terms of its surroundings. Where Chromebook has a screen, Chromebook has a keyboard. Chromebook doesn't have anything. It's just a box that you hook up things to it to be able to do whatever you need to do. And thus, of course, because it doesn't have a screen, doesn't have a keyboard, it's cheaper than buying a Chromebook. Chromebooks are already fairly cheap. I mean, as far as laptops go, they're at least, I would say, half price of what you would normally expect to pay for a PC laptop, and probably, I would say, well, quite a bit more than that, cheaper than even considering buying a Mac one. So the the reason you would consider Chromebook versus Chromebox is simply the convenience and what you're trying to accomplish. If you want to run a big screen and you want to hook up a mouse and keyboard and all of that, then you get a Chromebox. And then you hook up your devices, pick whatever screen you want, whatever mouse and keyboard you want, and you have a full-blown computer in terms of capabilities. If you do want the portability of being able to take it with you and being able to have, you know, relatively small screen but not too small, they come in multiple flavors. You can get Chromebooks with screens that are 11 inches in size, so it's fairly small, very light. They're like 2.5 pounds, right around that weight. And you can also get some of the newer ones, like one of the most powerful ones out there. Screens are as big as 13, 14 inches, and so you can pretty much get, you know, whatever you need in terms of Chromebooks too. They're pretty efficient in terms of power, because you can run the latest Chromebook just came out from Acer. It's 13 inches in size. It runs the latest NVIDIA chip, which allows it to be extremely good when it comes to power use, and you can run it according to the specs for up to 13 hours without any on batteries. So you can basically do a full day without worrying about being plugged in anymore. So as long as you have the internet connectivity, and I would definitely recommend having a fairly decent one, you can do just about anything you want to do on these devices. With that, let's move on to the next point and talk about some of the benefits of both of these. And as you can see, it says at the top there, why Chrome. I put in using a little computer terminology of book and box, because it's basically the same, technology-wise, it's the same thing that you're running. So it's just a question of picking whether you want one with screen and keyboard or without it. Other than that, it's basically the same deal. So one of the things about it is ease of use. Those devices are very easy to use because essentially you're running a browser. And so there are some icons on each one of these that allow you to start Gmail, start Chrome itself, even though everything is pretty much running off of Chrome. So start the browser, start, you know, your weather application, start your Evernote, start your Kindle application, whatever different applications you got, different apps that are running on Chrome OS, which, by the way, you can get from their Google's marketplace for Chromebooks. They have all these different apps you can install, and that's it. I mean, so it's very easy to use. You just point and click, nothing more complicated than that. Okay. In terms of obviously what the apps do, it's like any app. Whatever, I mean, you need to know how to use it, what it does. But for the most part, it's you using a browser to do everything you need to do. So if you know how to use a browser, you know how to use a Chromebook and Chromebox. One thing I wanted to mention also is that Chromebooks come with ability to have multiple users, just like Windows does. So you can have a profile for each user, and that way you can totally segregate your Google Drive, your Gmail, all of your different basically applications for you personally from perhaps another member of the family or another member of the of your team at work if you have multiple people using the same device. So you can easily set up multiple profiles, and then people just use their own setup, their own backgrounds, everything of their own. So it's very easy to use in terms of how the ease of use goes. Those are very easy to use devices. They're very simple to implement. They're very simple to use. Nothing there more complex than just plugging it in and going. In terms of item number 2, speed, one of the main reasons to consider these is I always make this little story to people that it takes from my Windows laptop, which is an i7 Intel laptop, which is, you know, pretty beefy in terms of what it does. It takes, after using it for about a year and a half or 2 years I've been using it, it takes about 15 minutes to boot up from beginning to end until actually it's fast enough where I can do stuff with it. 15 minutes. So if you consider that I waste 15 minutes every day, and of course if you use Windows a lot and you don't reboot every so often, then, you know, memory fragmentation will slow it down to a crawl also. So I definitely recommend rebooting at least once a day, depending on your usage. Then you're basically killing. I mean, let's say 10 minutes. Forget 15 minutes. Let's say even 10 minutes. And let's say you have 6 employees in the company, in a fairly small business. That means they're killing about an hour every day in productivity by waiting for the stupid machine to boot. Okay? Every single day you lose an hour. You calculate how much money it's costing you over time. And then we're just talking about booting up. We're not talking about using computers, being efficient. We're talking about just being able to start using it. So obviously having a computer that can boot up in 10 to 15 seconds, like these Chromeboxes, Chromebooks do, is a huge improvement right there itself. But also they're very quick because they don't really have that much junk in them like Windows does, where all this bloat that makes everything go so much slower. You're talking about running a browser that does some stuff. And of course, with that, these are very, very efficient little machines, and they work very fast in terms of speed. If you have fast internet, these things fly. I mean, it's amazing how fast they are. So definitely consideration for improving efficiency without even doing anything else, just being able to boot up quickly. They're very small. Like I said, the laptop obviously would be like a laptop size, but if you're talking about Chromeboxes, they're really tiny, just like a little square box. You can look online to see what they look like, but they're very, very tiny devices and very convenient. You know, they don't take up any space on your desk. The only thing you would have typically would be your monitor, and you have your keyboard and the mouse, and the little Chromebox sitting right behind it, taking up almost no room at all. Okay. In terms of capabilities, mostly you run on the Google Apps from the marketplace, like I mentioned before. And of course, you can also add whatever software you can find, not necessarily from the marketplace, that would be compatible. So you can load that as well. And one of the beauties of using Google Apps, of course, you don't have to worry about installing, reinstalling, uninstalling. You know, you just install your software, and you know, updates come automatically. And once in a while, it'll give you a little arrow to indicate that if you reboot now, it'll give you a new version of the OS, basically Chrome OS, which takes seconds to just reboot again and be up and running with the latest and greatest. But you don't really deal with installations outside of just initial time you install whatever app you want to install, unless you want to uninstall it. You don't deal with any upgrades or anything. You don't deal with any of that kind of stuff, which also is a huge time saver. And of course, you have all the capabilities of literally, you know, thousands and thousands of Google apps that allow you to do all kinds of different things on these little machines. Okay, in addition to regular software provided by Google itself, then you also have the apps coming from other manufacturers of software. Price is tremendous on this thing because it's typically half or less for a PC desktop, and even less so, I mean even more so in terms of savings compared to any kind of Mac. So if you're looking to get a well-functional, speedy device that's, you know, light to carry, easy to use, has a bunch of software on it, most of the software being free, with a lot of software that's competent being very inexpensive, you can't touch Chromebooks and Chromeboxes. I mean, there's absolutely nothing either in the PC land or on the Mac spectrum that comes even close to what you will get for using these devices. So of course, with running this thing, you know, you got all these applications, you install everything else, you get it really cheaply, it's pretty competent, you know, can do all kinds of different things. You can get actually one of these like Chromeboxes for less than $200. Chromebooks are a little bit more pricey because you get the screen and the keyboard, but not much. I mean, you're still paying less than you would pay for a PC. And so bringing up here, you know, like today I got an email from Amazon, and as you can see right there, the latest pricing as we speak right now, you can get a Chromebox there at the top there for $163.53. I mean, so it's super cheap to get into one of these things. And it does come with, this particular one comes with 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabyte SSD drive inside, but basically flash storage. But you mostly do things using this kind of technology in the cloud anyway. So you got Google Drive, you store your documents, you create your documents, your spreadsheets, your presentations, everything is done on Google Drive, just like this presentation I'm showing you. It's not stored, even though I'm running it right now on my desktop computer because that's where my 2 big monitors are. At the same time, all of this stuff is stored in the cloud in Google Drive. And as you can see, there's some variations where you can have different kinds of Chrome boxes from different manufacturers, and you have different size options in terms of how much RAM you get, how much disk space you get, and so you can see that you can get up price-wise depending on the configuration to as much as there's one for $547.99. But if you're talking about basic capabilities, good capabilities, and don't get me wrong, this is not some low-end machine that doesn't do squat. This is very, very capable box for less than $200. For this 163.53, 166.53, that one will do an excellent job for you, guaranteed. Okay, you don't need to step up in terms of that. If you really wanted to keep some stuff locally, a lot of information, all that, then you might look into something that has a little more memory inside. But if you're doing everything in Google Drive, which is definitely something I'd recommend, then by all means, I mean, stick to this sub $200 one. You'll be perfectly happy. And if you need to get a keyboard and a mouse, as you can see, they have these bundles, like the little Chromebox bundle at the bottom from HP, where you get Chromebox itself and the mouse and the keyboard. And as you can see, the keyboard they have is actually regular size. It's a little bit smaller than a big size keyboard, but pretty much the same as normal keyboard would be. And you can see just how tiny the Chromebox itself is in comparison to it, because these are real sizes right there. So Chromebox itself, it doesn't look that much bigger than the mouse. I mean, if you twice the mouse, I guess, size-wise. They're really, really small devices. And as you can see, you can get the whole bundle there with the keyboard and mouse for $180. And if you don't have a monitor, then you can buy one, obviously. And so that will set you back probably another maybe $120, $150. So for a little over $300, you can have the complete setup, is the price, with a nice like 23, 24-inch monitor. If you already have a monitor and you're just replacing your PC, then you're looking at a totally different situation where you just use your existing monitor and you simply spend $180, which gives you a new keyboard and mouse, get you the Chromebox, and you're ready to go. So very, very cost-effective solution to implement in the business environment. And of course, you got access to all these, Google apps, which many of you use. I certainly use them religiously. I don't use almost anything else. The only reason I do stuff on my PC, if you're asking why am I running this on Windows PC right now, is because the doing development in terms of software development is definitely not up to par yet on these little machines compared to what you can do on Windows at this point. So since I do a lot of business software design development and things like that, I wind up, and plus maintaining my existing Windows-based systems I wrote many, many years ago, I wind up needing to use Windows. But that aside, without any question, if I was starting a new business or even existing business and I wasn't happy with my performance in terms of machines and how much money they cost and servers, everything else, I would not even give it a second thought. I would definitely go with this Chromebox type solution for everybody in the company, hands down. Believe me, no question. And so as you can see, we got all kinds of Google apps that come with it, and then you can add some more. You got your calendar, you got the browser, obviously, you got Google Drive, you got Google Earth. In terms of these, these are just few icons, but Google Goggles, Google Plus, of course, Hangouts, so you can do chat, video conferencing. All of these like Chromebooks all come with cameras, so you can do it all right as the box comes in. You can start using it. Google Keep there, the newsstand, Google Translate, Wallet. All these different apps, everything is totally available to you, runnable on Chromebooks and Chromeboxes. But of course, everybody asks the same big question: what do we do with Windows? What if we're running Windows apps or Windows applications that were developed a long time ago? How do we, everything sounds great. It's fast, it's cheap, it's capable, but we still have this Windows application that we have to run, and it's not available on Chrome OS at this point. And who knows if it ever will be available in Chrome OS. I have the same exact dilemma with one of my clients in Idaho, where they're running a system I developed for them back in the year 2000, and they're still running it, and still running on Office XP technology and Windows XP, if you can believe that. A lot of people raise their eyebrows when they tell them we're still running it, and running it on a daily basis. They're like, wow, and it still actually runs? Yeah, it still runs. You can make it work, and I've been able to make it work with all the upgrades to Windows 7, Windows 8. I'm still able to hobble along over there, because right now we're in the process of determining to do a new system for them so we can get away from it, because it definitely has a lot of challenges, but it still runs. And so the bottom line is, people ask, how do you handle the Windows question? I mean, we still need to be able to run QuickBooks. And so when you tell them that, well, there's an application called FreshBooks, that no, I'm running QuickBooks. I don't care about any FreshBooks or any other kind of books. I'm running QuickBooks. So obviously, change is difficult for people, and it's difficult enough to get them to even consider to move to this kind of environment. Much more so to be able to say you're not going to be running your Windows app. So you need to have some sort of solution. And one of the solutions I found that's pretty competent is Chrome Remote Desktop. This is both an extension and an app that allows you to run, and it runs, by the way, on Chromeboxes, Chromebooks, on tablets, Android tablets, and even Android phones. And it allows you essentially to do remote access from your device into another computer running, let's say, Windows as an example. Okay? And so that becomes an excellent solution for remote access, an excellent solution to handle the Windows question, because most likely you're not going to be throwing away your Windows PC. I mean, you may have some viruses on it or malware and constant problems with all these IT people coming in and trying to clean it out and everything else, but you're still running the stuff. And so you still have the computer. So my recommendation, if you're going to move into this environment, is if you can make it work so, you simply take your existing Windows machine, you clean it out completely so you don't have any junk on it. You just have your applications you're running and nothing else. Set it somewhere in the corner in your network. So make sure you're running the anti-malware, anti-virus software, because that's what most hackers attack. Is they attack Windows. They don't attack other machines as much, even close as much as they attack Windows. So keep your protection there, but do not use those boxes. Just put it in the corner somewhere, leave it alone, and then set up this Chrome Remote Desktop so you can easily jump into that computer from your current device, whether it's a Chromebook or Chromebox, and thus essentially remotely, even though you're on the same network potentially, or you could be on a different network if you want, you can do it over the internet, then you go ahead and you run these applications on Windows in your Chromebook or Chromebox device, just as if you were on that machine. That's all. You just simply remotely access it, you run the application as you need, and then you get off and run everything else that you need to run. So that's my easy and simple solution for free, in terms of it doesn't cost anything to implement this, to still utilize your old boxes so you don't have to throw them away, but utilize them in this other fashion where you simply use them to run your Windows stuff remotely. But in the meantime, on your end, where you're doing most of your work with your emails and your Drive applications, everything else, you'll be going at full clip, you'll be booting up very quickly, and you don't have to deal with this minutia involved with all the problems and ills related to Windows. So that's my simple solution to how you can still run Windows off of your new device running Chromebox or Chromebooks. That's it. If you have any questions, you're certainly welcome to ask me online or on Google+, or via email, or however you want to reach me on YouTube. This is the link to my profile and my business page, so you feel free to reach me right there if you have any questions. And with that, I think we're done for today. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.